Hello and welcome back to another reaction. In this occasion, Avatar, but not the last Airbender, actually is the Legend of Korra. Yes, I finally got the file that I wanted in decent quality. I didn't want to see the crappy ones that most of the time I was getting. So yes, I finally got it in MP4, and I finally have the opportunity to react to this wonderful, wonderful series. Well, from what I understand, is a continuation of the last Airbender. I don't know how accurate that information really is. I didn't want to dwell too deep into this because for obvious reasons, spoilers. I mean, come on. Uh, but yes, it's intriguing to see. I am fascinated to see how the creators of this show. I don't know if they are the same creators. I don't know if they are different, but I want to see how they plan to continue the series within the world. I guess we're going to see a new avatar because obviously Aang is not in the title or is not implied in the title. It's now Korra, whoever that is. So yes, I am. That is my guess. That is what I think is going to happen. We're going to see a new avatar. Therefore, Aang is dead, because yeah, the avatar is supposed to be a reincarnation. So yeah, for a reincarnation, you need to be the previous one needs to be dead. So that is bringing me down a little bit for obvious reasons because Aang is a wonderful character. Is one of my favorites. So yeah, it's a shame about that. But yes, it's well. Obviously, I have been reading your message. I know that perhaps this series is not as good as the original Avatar, The Last Airbender, but I think that is something that is expected. Why I said this? I answered one of your comments a few weeks ago that by saying that Avatar: The Last Airbender is like lightning in a bottle. It's something that is cannot be recreated. It's circumstances that get together and create something wonderful. But even if you try to recreate such circumstances, it's going to be impossible. It's one of a kind. So, yes, obviously, I do not expect the same level for episodes like we got in the previous iteration, in this case, Avatar: The Last Airbender. But from what I have been reading in your comments, this is still a pretty good series. So, I am eager to see how this is going to be developed. If we're going to get our loved, beloved characters of the last series, or they are going to completely forget about them. Uh, Hopefully, it's not going to be a case like Naruto and Boruto. And if you want to know more about that, I'm going to speak about that in the commentary. But enough about all of these. I am so eager to see this new series. So let's cut all of this and watch the episode, shall we? Watch a second time the first episode of The Legend of Korra of the first season. And yes, you can see the changes in here. Well, not everything has changed. We still start with the presentation of the four elements, in this case earth, fire, air and water. And what I have noticed here is they are showing the avatars. They are showing the kind of the avatar cycle that we got in the last few times, because obviously they started with the oldest avatar, in this case for the earth, well, the newest earth bending avatar, I think is the best way to describe this, in this case Avatar Kyoshi. Then the next avatar, in this case Avatar Roku. Then the next avatar, in this case Avatar Aang, and in the new iteration of the Avatar Korra. Yes, obviously at the beginning I have no idea who she was, and even Avatar Aang was kind of dubious because that is Aang with a beard, so I guess he likes beards. I was still unsure, but yeah, I think the confirmation came when after you realize that In the presentation, they are only showing the avatars, and actually the cycle of the avatar is what we are seeing in the presentation. So yeah, I am pretty sure that is Aang. Anyway, yes, it's a different beginning for obvious reasons, and I'm very happy for this because yeah, as we know, Aang was frozen in ice for 100 years, and the war is going, and yes, there is a different type of plot than what we're seeing here. It's more of an external conflict other than the internal conflict that we are seeing within this avatar, the Legend of Korra. Aang had a clear goal. He needed to defeat the Fire Lord, he needed to defeat the Fire Nation and change the point of view of the people. That was the goal from the beginning. Actually, from the beginning, it was just to defeat the Fire Nation. We still, at least I didn't have enough information for me to say, oh yes, he needs to defeat Mark Hamill so he can restore the balance of the world. Obviously, no. But you understand that clear goal. Okay, Fire Nation is bad guys, the rest are the good guys. That's how it started in Avatar. And obviously we started to see the world around, because again, for the first episode of Aang is just a new world. We don't know anything about this world. We don't know the rules. We don't know what is going on, and the animation is showing these rules little by little. It's showing off how we must proceed within this world, etc., etc., etc. So it's a new beginning. Now, most of the people that we are going to, or are going to see Korra are the fans of the original series, so we can ease up a little bit with the presentation of the world. I still think they are doing a great job because they are introducing new elements, they are introducing new stuff, but they are not overwhelming you with that new stuff. So we still got the presentation, the South Pole. I thought it was the North Pole, but it's actually the South Pole. And they are looking for the avatar. The new avatar has appeared, and she has a little bit more of control of the rest of the elements. When she was a very little, like 6 years old, that is obviously a rough calculation. It's nothing that I am sure of anything in this case. We got to see obviously Korra throwing fire, kind of bending water, which is a little bit more expected because yeah, she is from the South Pole benders, and then we got her kind of bending the earth. So she has more power, at least I guess physical power, because when we got Aang at the beginning, he could only control the wind. He doesn't know how to control the rest of the elements, but perhaps because his training was just focusing on the air part of the avatar. I don't know. Perhaps he's nitpicking, but that is something that drove me crazy for a little while. I said, okay, why she can't control these elements when she is young? But perhaps it's just a quick way for the show to show you, okay, this is how they are going to guarantee that she is the avatar. Let's do this. Perhaps I'm just overthinking stuff that should not be overthinking. But anyway, moving on. Then of course we change to the point, of course, she was training and she's dominating the rest of the guys. Now this makes sense to me because she's, I don't know, 4 or 5 years older than what Aang was at the beginning of the series. So she has more time to train, she has more masters to train from, because yes, obviously in this new world the avatar is not being persecuted. The avatar is just saying, okay, the new avatar is here, we need to train him or her and we need to move forward. And obviously the Order of the White Lotus, and this is something that really intrigued me because now the order is not so hidden. I don't know if it was hidden in the Aang era, but that is what it looks like for me. And in this place you say, okay, this is a very powerful organization, that I guess he has backup from every single of the nations, including the Fire Nation, the Earth Kingdom, and the Water Tribes. So obviously the Air Nomads did not exist back then, they need to be repopulated. The Air Nomad legacy, let's say. So yes, okay, we're going to back them all because we need them, because they help us in our time of need. So we need to back them up and not to be so secretive organization, but an organization that helps with the avatar. That is my guess of what the change that we saw in this series is coming from. I guess the Fire Lord Zuko in this case said, okay, yes, we need to support the White Lotus, and they're kind of okay, yes, they release Ba Sing Se, so yes, all my support. And the Water Tribes, I guess, okay, yes, they help us. Let's give us our support, especially because the Master of Katara was part of the White Lotus. So I guess they are more open now. The White Lotus, because I guess during the 100 Years War, was just they were more secretive because the Fire Lord could not accept any organization that did not submit to him. So yeah, that's my guess into why we see more prominent the Order of the White Lotus from episode 1, because I don't think we got a mention of that, of the organization. We got the mention of the White Lotus, I think, from Mon Calamari, if I'm not mistaken, in the first or second episode, but as an organization we got it much later. We got hints here and there, but not the on your face, okay, this is the organization. So I guess they have a different role in this era. And speaking about eras, the music, the background music, the action music, the perhaps even the cinematography, the backgrounds, everything reminds me of the 30s and 40s. Kind of like the same era of The Godfather. Especially with these kind of mafia toughs that we saw at the beginning that Korra fought against. So yeah, it reminds me a lot, and it reminds me a lot of New York City from that era. The Statue of Liberty obviously is kind of the statue of Aang. It's very similar in the way that is being portrayed. So yes, it reminds me a lot of that, of the 40s, and specifically of New York City of the 40s. And hell, I'll even go a little bit further and talk about how it reminds me, perhaps it's not even the 40s, perhaps even it's the 20s. The 20s and 30s are what is, I don't know, supposed to be based on this. Again, it's very different from what we have seen in the last Airbender, in Aang's era. It's more of a rural feeling of the cities, more of these medieval cities, but not from Western civilization, but from Eastern civilization. Kind of the equivalent. Obviously, I know it's not medieval times, a little bit older, because yeah, these civilizations are a lot older, and I mean the Eastern civilizations. But that is what it feels. It's not obviously. It's kind of peasant. It's kind of all these feeling of very old and ancient cities, and here we are kind of entering into more modern times. So it's an interesting change of pace, an interesting change of background, of world. So it's interesting, and I liked they are making it different. I have several questions in here, because who gave away this territory for this nation that Avatar Aang wanted to fulfill? Yes, I know that perhaps say, the Fire Lord Zuko gave him away because they were the colonists, but in this case, are the other nations so willingly to give away that much territory? Because I don't know how much territory, but any amount of that is, yeah, for another nation saying, okay, you conquer part of my territory, you invade me, and you want me to give away my territory that belongs to me just because you want to be friends with the Avatar? Yeah, I find this hard to believe, but perhaps because I am a more cynical person, because I live in the real world. Obviously, perhaps this has nothing to do with politics of our modern society, of our modern place, and it's different because he's the Avatar, because he was asking for that territory, for this purpose. So perhaps again, my cynicism is taking over in this case and saying, okay, yeah, it's obviously different, the world of the Avatar, than our world. So yeah, perhaps I am just being a little bit too cynical and thinking like that. So yes, moving on. Obviously, we see a different change in the Avatar racing. The avatar now has everything that they can ask for so they can learn, so they can master all the elements and not being like Aang. Aang took a lot of time, well, relatively speaking, and because he was on the run and he has to look for the teachers and he has to say, okay, this is an ideal teacher, this is not an ideal teacher, I need to find it. And in this case, the Order of the White Lotus are providing the teachers, the Firebender, the Earthbender. Well, the Waterbender, I guess, was Katara, so yeah, that's not very difficult to achieve. So because she was in the South Pole, I guess, I don't know. I'm still dubious about all those small details, but obviously we are missing the air master. In this case, Tencent, I think it was the name. Yeah, Tencent. Yes, this is a different change. Avatar Aang doesn't want for Korra to Avatar Korra to be in the same boat as he was. He wants her to learn to master all the elements so she can control all the elements and she can defend herself, and if it's necessary to bring balance to the world, just like he did before. But obviously she needs to start with the city, and we saw already the problems within this Republican city, which again, it didn't take a lot of time to think about that name. Perhaps they imagined everything else, but the imagination was cut short by the name of the city. Anyway, moving forward. Yes, obviously, in the last iteration of Avatar, we saw the external conflict, the external threat, in this case, the Fire Nation. Now in this new one, we saw the internal conflict, and we have a couple of candidates for that. We got the Anti-Vending Revolution, and obviously the Triple Threat Triad, which obviously I guess is just, they have bendings from the water tribe, they have waterbenders, earthbenders, and firebenders, so that's why it's a triple threat. Yeah, even the colors of the suits of these guys, of these tops. Seriously, man, are you dealing with talks? So yeah, it's obvious now that we have our interconflict, and we have a more concentrated point for our conflict. From the beginning of the last Airbender, the conflict was global. Every single nation was against the Fire Nation. Here we're speaking about more of a city problem. I don't know if this is going to escalate and these either triads or the anti-vending revolution is going to spread around the world. I don't see how so far, but perhaps the plot is going to surprise me later on. But yes, it's more of a internal conflict other than this external massive conflict that we got in the last situation. That is basically what I'm getting from this episode. That is basically what I am getting from these few moments with the episode. Now, there is obviously something else. Obviously, I dedicated the first part of this commentary to speak about the new world that we are about to enter thanks to this series. Why I did that? Because that is something I don't think I'm going to be repeating every single episode, because that is what we are going to understand. But now the really interesting part of the commentary starts. At least I think that is the interesting part. The characters. We got a different type of characters. Again, a different type of avatar. Avatar Korra is, thanks to her uprising, is more upbeat, is more free. Well, not free. It's hard to describe the difference because, yeah, Aang is happy and wanted to be free. That is very similar to what we are seeing with Korra so far. So we found a lot of similarities between the two newest avatars. But obviously that is how the beginning starts. I don't know how the series is going to be developing Korra, because so far it's very, very similar. And yes, I know I said that they are very different, but once you start to understand and analyze what the difference of what the similarities are, I think there are more similarities in here. The difference holds in obviously the training and how they are talking about Korra. That she doesn't know how to dominate the spiritual side. of her training, because almost from the beginning we see Aang kind of meditating and entering into the spiritual world with ease, something that we have not seen from Korra, but it still is way too early to judge that. I don't know how the episodes are going to be developing. I don't know if she is going to be adapting easily to the spiritual training, because so far it's only the things that the show told me, and I try to prefer the method of showing no telling, so that's why I'm still dubious with this. But the physical part, yes, that is something that we have seen and we understand. And yes, physically she is more adept to the rest of the elements, but there are different circumstances here. Aang was like 12-year-old when he was unfrozen, when he started to train for being an avatar. Korra, she looks like a 16-17-year-old, so there is a lot of years for her to train, and she has been training perhaps from when she was 6 or 7, from what we saw from the first few scenes of the show. So there is an obvious difference there. We haven't seen this difficulty for the spiritual world, so that is why I'm holding. But so far, I like the character of Korra. She is very, well, she's obviously resourceful, but she wants justice to prevail. She is a very hot-headed person, yes. Why I say this? For the destruction that she caused on the street when she was fighting these 3 toughs. So yeah, it's understandable there is different there. Aang is more of a pacifist. She is more of a take action and attack and do something. Paz again is for what she was being raised to do. Aang was raised as a monk. He was being raised as a monk. She's been raised, from what I have seen, as an avatar, as a warrior. And she has more time to train because yeah, there was no war looming above their heads. So yes, there are different circumstances here. There are different personalities, which is something I'm thankful. So I am eager to see how Korra is going to be evolving. Now, other characters. We got to see Katara as an old lady. So unfortunately, yeah, but this is something we knew from the beginning. Aang is dead now because yeah, there is a new avatar, and obviously the avatar is a reincarnation, so there cannot be 2 avatars at the same time, at least alive. Perhaps in the spiritual world is something different, but yeah, you get my point. But that is not the only dead we have seen. We have seen, or we know, we didn't saw that. We know now that unfortunately Sokka is dead, because yeah, that's what she said. And I have the feeling that Toph is dead too, for all the imagery that we saw in the city, and I guess Suki, because we haven't seen her, is dead. So because she's spoken about other friends that died, and my brother, that's what she said, that was Katara said. So my guess is the only one alive is Katara, perhaps? I don't know, because we don't know. Well, at least I don't know so far. And they haven't mentioned the name of the Fire Lord. I don't think so. So perhaps even Zuko is dead. So I don't know. I still have a lot of doubts about this world, but yes, the ones that are confirmed is Sokka. The other ones I'm dubious. The other one I think is also kind of confirmed is Toph, for all the imagery that we have seen. Unfortunately, they died. I wanted to see more about them. I wanted to see them as an adult, but perhaps this is good, and I'm going to speak about that in the end of the commentary. Then, of course, we got the 3 kids of Katara. We know the names at least. It's Kaya, Bumi, and Tenzin, the character that we saw in the animation. I would love to know if what are the ages of all of them, who is the oldest, who is the youngest. I am fascinated to see. Then we got our flying bison, Oogie, and yeah, he still responds, or she still responds, I don't know if he's a male or female, with Yip Yip. So that's good. That is something that is consistent. Then we got Lin Beifong. Ling Beifong, who is the daughter of Toph Beifong. Yes, the greatest airbender ever. Yes, I said it. And we got Consulman Tenzin, that is obviously the character that we know so far. We know that Lin Beifong is a hard ass. She's wanted to uphold the law, which is kind of different from what her mother was, because if we remember correctly, Toph didn't want to follow any rules. So perhaps the uprising is because Toph was kind of, I don't know, a crazy person like a mother. I don't know. I want to see why. Perhaps even just in flashbacks, but I want to see this rising because I want to see my favorite characters from the last Airbender. At least to see them in flashback. Show them to me like in flashback. Please show. And then of course we got our villain so far, the triple threat triad, and the anti-bending revolution, which of course is led by Amon, I guess, or that's what I hear, Amon, which probably the main villain because of the way they are shooting his scenes. So yeah, perhaps that is going to be our main villain, this anti-bending revolution. How they are going to be treating this villain, I don't know. Hopefully better than Osai, because yeah, Osai, after you watch several times the last episode and all the episodes that he is in, yeah, it's kind of a generic villain. It's not like Azula, which was an amazing villain. It's more of a generic one. Anyway, yes, all those are the characters that I know, and obviously the new world, as I said, it reminds me a lot of the 40s, 30s and 20s of New York City. That's what it reminds me. And yes, we have to see the changes here. That now we have automobiles, they call saddle mobiles, I think it was. I did not catch that correctly, not even in the second viewing. So I am eager to see more about this new world that we got in Korra, but obviously we need to explore said world little by little. They need to be very short kind of world building, because if they try to shove it all at the same time, it's not going to work. But I think this series is longer than the last one. I don't believe me, because I haven't checked so far how many episodes I still missing from downloading, because yes, I am still downloading some of them. But yes, I wanted to check this out. I wanted to see this series because I am fascinated by it. Again, I enter this with the idea that it's not the same as the last Airbender, because you have warned me about that, but it's still a neat series. So I am entering with that. I am not holding my expectation just as high as the Avatar The Last Airbender. So perhaps I will not be as strict as you might want me to be, but it's because I am lowering set expectations. And honestly, because I enjoy this show so far, even if it's just one episode. Now, what I said about the comparison between Naruto and Boruto. Naruto is a great series. It has its dull moments, yes, especially the filler, which I hate. And if you are new to this and you haven't seen Naruto, watch it, but just be aware of the fillers. Even so, skip the fillers. Don't even watch them because they are completely worthless. They are boring, they are uninteresting. Yeah. Go to Naruto until episode 100 and something. Check it in the line. I'm sure there is a guide to that. And then skip to Shippuden, and even be aware of some of the filler episodes of Shippuden. And that's it. And now, Naruto was a great series. It has great characters, and you love said characters. You love Naruto, you love Shikamaru, you love Choji, you love Kakashi, you love all of these characters. And yes, if you notice, I stopped mentioning Sakura because she's not one of my favorites, and Sasuke is not one of my favorites either, so yeah, that's why. But then you go to the change of Boruto. I honestly detest the little shit that is Boruto. I love Himawari, but I hate Boruto. And this is the point I want to make. It's a good thing that they are not showing in Korra, they are not showing us all the previous characters. because perhaps they are going to ruin it to make it the new protagonist of our show and make it look better. And by the end of the series, he's a very powerful vendor because now he dominates everything and he dominates the Avatar state. Katara the same. Katara is an amazing vendor, an amazing water vendor, and one of the few who still controls the blood bending techniques. We got Zuko, that is still a very powerful vendor. He has been growing up, and focusing his fire bending from another point, not just anger. And we got Toph, which was honestly amazing almost from the beginning. And now she invented the metal bending that we saw. And yes, something before going forward to this with this idea. Yes, in the review, in the rewatching the episode, I noticed they are metal benders. So I guess the school of Toph just grew a lot more. Moving on. But yeah, we got all those great characters. But just like in Naruto, Naruto was nerfed and Sasuke even was nerfed so bad in Boruto because by the end of Naruto Shippuden, they were almost godlike creatures. They can do whatever they want. They are so overpowered by the end of the series of Naruto that, yeah, you do not believe any threat that comes their way. You don't believe any threat because they are so overpowered. So there is nothing that they cannot defeat. And in Boruto, they have to nerf them so bad, so you can have attention. You can have said, okay, yeah, but not even Naruto and Sasuke can defeat this threat, which is obviously bullshit. Obviously bullshit that we got here. So can Boruto say, oh yes, I am more powerful than my father and my mentor? Yeah, that is what I don't like. If you want to make Boruto, go ahead, but change the point of view, make it a slice of life, make it a comedy, don't try to make Naruto 2.0. And this is my point with this one. I hope this series is different enough for me to be thinking, okay, but what if Aang do this? Hopefully that is going to be the case. And without the presence of Aang and the rest of the gang, yes, that is a little more bearable. Okay, this happens in the same world, but at least happens years after the death of my favorite characters. So I don't feel like they are just using my characters, the characters that I love, to make this new character that I don't like or that I am just meeting better or make it look better. So perhaps the decision of killing off all these characters is a good one, so we don't make the same comparison that the fans of Naruto are making with Boruto. So perhaps it's good, all of this is fine. Yeah, it is an interesting point of view which I am having right now, and hopefully the show is going to deliver. Again, I am not going with the same expectations of Avatar The Last Airbender. I'm understanding that this is not the same series. Even if it's by the same people, it's not the same series. So I wanted to see this series from a long time ago, and so far it hasn't disappointed. Obviously the animation is better because it's a more recent animation, but still, I am pleasantly surprised with this one, and I want to know more about this character. So far I have only positives to say about this series. Well, not all positives, there are some nitpickings here and there, but I can bypass those and enjoy the series. So I genuinely believe that I exhausted the topic of this episode. If you think not, please let me know what do you think I missed about this one, but so far so good. Anyway, yes, I have nothing else to say, but remind you that if you enjoy the content of the channel, please consider a subscription and turn on notifications so you can get up to date with whatever we are doing with the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in one of your comments to what do you think about the episode, my reaction, or the commentary in general. And yes, this has been a very long ass commentary because it's the first one and I need to clarify some things that I think were needed. But anyway, yes, I'm starting to ramble once again, so I have nothing else to say, but thank you for your attention, and well, see you on the next one. Bye.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, give it a like so the algorithm from YouTube will help me out. And check my other videos, share them, and also why not subscribe to my channel and join this community. And as always, I want to thank you for your attention, your likes, and even your dislikes, your comments, which is something I always look forward to read. And yeah, once more, thanks and see you on the next one.